Yo, welcome back to another video. We back in here. We got this video right here. I'm gonna get it started. I was trying to load up my devices, but they take a while for the live stream to pick up. Anyways, the Thunderbolts movie is trash. I hope y'all like it. I didn't like it. They promised too much. They said this is gonna save the multiverse and everything else. If they was like, this is just another Marvel movie, it would have been okay. But since they said it would be so much, it was trash. No, it wasn't it.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Jessica Clemens, and the Thunderbolts is officially out. And aren't we excited? Isn't it just so fun? And just so you know, I will be spoiling the movie in this video. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, go watch the movie and then you can come back to this video. Just getting that out and open because I don't want you guys yelling at me. Okay, so at the end of the movie, we have our new Avengers. It's very rich, very demure. We've been established with them for over a year as well. However, they are now in conflict with Sam Wilson over the name The Avengers, as his team still holds that title. And remember how in Brave New World, President Ross tasked him with building a new Avengers team? So I guess that directive can still be relevant even when your president is locked away in the raft. So we now have two teams of Avengers. Unfortunately, Bucky and Sam are not on the same team, and they're at odds about the whole new name, same job kind of thing. And in this video, I'll explore who will be on Sam Wilson's team by examining the evidence from the Doomsday chairs, considering the remaining superheroes who are now teamless, identifying the ones Sam Wilson might realistically connect with given his limited resources now, and seeing as we're forming them in some way still slightly under the US government, who doesn't have beef with the government and can work with them. But first, before I get into it, be sure to check out nerdriot.shop where you can find the latest and greatest in New Rockstars merch. Right now, we've got some Thunderbolts merch for you. Walk back into that theater, see the movie again, and brag about it with your new shirt. Maybe you want to spoil it to your friends in a subtle way, or perhaps you want to spoil it in a subtle way, play some Jedi mind tricks, get the Fantastic Four merch that we have. They won't even know what you mean by that. You can also rock. Conflict primarily arises because Sam is part of the original Avengers team, which President Ross tasked him with building. Now we have the Johns versus Vaughn situation. If you're in California, you probably know what I'm talking about. If you're everywhere else, you probably don't know what I'm talking about. But you get it. We're gonna ask which one is better, which one will we rely on when the world is in danger? Johns.
Curious to how to meet the Thunderbolts before they hit the big screen? Want the backstories of Marvel's upcoming heroes right now? What if Hulk, the Thing from Fantastic Four, and even Abomination, three of the strongest bruisers out there, teamed up and smashed everything in sight? Introducing the world where anything you can imagine is real. Give me 60 seconds. Let me show you Marvel Future Fight. Marvel Future Fight has over 270 Marvel characters from all over the MCU, X-Men, Spider-Verse, and even deep cut Legends.
Folks would make complete sense, not only benefiting the team, but also having links to Sam Wilson prior and him just knowing them personally, so it just makes sense. Teamless superheroes that haven't found a new team yet, however, are appearing in Doomsday, according to the chairs, are Thor, Shuri's Black Panther, Namor, Shang-Chi, M'Baku, and Loki. Arguably, I doubt Namor should and will join the Avengers. His comic character sometimes felt like an anti-hero despite being featured in so many comics, and he had even joined the Avengers at one point in time. It's not hard to stick him to any one group, though the Namor that we're seeing in the MCU doesn't really like humans, and I don't think he's willing to change his views on that. He might during Doomsday because he simply won't have the kingdom of Talokan behind him, but once back to their everyday reality, he'll turn back to the dark side. On the other hand though, Wakanda Forever ended with Namor yielding to Shuri and telling his people how he believed Black Panther to be the most powerful hero and the most powerful nation on land, but with no allies. So if what he says is true, I can see him appearing in Doomsday and Secret Wars and working together regardless. Shuri only knows some of these heroes, but has fought alongside M'Baku and fought with Namor, so they could become their own unit. However, I still think that would work like the teams we saw in Infinity War, which was like a mishmash of groups to tackle things in that moment, and that was it. Black Panther, on the other hand, I can see on this team, especially since it's clear Shuri didn't take up the mantle of being queen of Wakanda and wandering the world outside of Wakanda. Since Black Panther was a significant help to the Avengers and a big part of their team in the comics, this could be that official bridging we were anticipating with Chadwick Boseman's Black Panther. Sam Wilson's new suit is also created by the Wakandan design group, as he mentioned in Brave New World, so there's already a link to the Wakandans there. And if Val spent her time trying to steal from the Wakandans and only envied them for their resources, it makes sense dramatically, and for the plot of course, for a Wakandan to join her opposing team. In my opinion, taking up the mantle her brother left behind while also being a great fighter and one of the most brilliant people coming out of Wakanda, she'd be a great setup for the Avengers. There's no evidence that she joined Miss Marvel's new team of Young Avengers or the Marvel Champions, so there's only one place left for her to really go. As for M'Baku, no, I don't think he's going to be on the Avengers, simply because he's the king of Wakanda right now. Also, Also, he's very connected with his Jabari tribe. And being a member of the Avengers calls for too much immediate action too many times. And when you're a king of a nation and also still dedicated to furthering your tribe, I just don't think he can make time. I recognize T'Challa did this, but T'Challa also learned under the tutelage of his father, T'Chaka, while Shuri had to deal with the unexpected working as a scientist and engineer, and M'Baku hated T'Challa for most of his time in Wakanda. So M'Baku isn't really T'Challa, and neither is Shuri, and maybe they just can't do exactly what T'Challa can do and what we expected him to do. Shang-Chi and Ant-Man feel highly likely to join Sam's team, two confirmed for Doomsday and also coming from the West Coast. Ant-Man was mentioned twice in Captain America Brave New World and has a great history with Sam Wilson, both fighting on his side during Civil War and being locked in the raft together. Additionally, we often take him for granted, even though he really saved us in Endgame, and he still hasn't received the full invitation to be an Avenger. I think it's now finally time that joke is just laid to rest and Sam Wilson will ask him officially to join his team. Ant-Man has officially had his 3 movies that I think are fully done. I'm not expecting an Ant-Man 4, but clearly his time in the MCU isn't really fully done because he's confirmed for Doomsday, and I'm expecting the reveal of him being an Avenger is going to happen during Doomsday. When building this team, I can see Sam reaching back out to Hulk, but as we know from the Thunderbolts, when Valentina mentions reaching out to Hulk, it looks like he's not officially on any team. He's just a point of contact in case of an emergency. But I could see Hulk pointing him towards Shang-Chi, the man with the 10 rings, but also there's that footage of him beating ass on that bus that probably also got back to Sam Wilson. I think it's boring, in my opinion, to compare powers and abilities to the old Avengers, but it's crucial story-wise that the team isn't completely unstoppable. They need flaws and disadvantages. That's why 9 times out of 10, you rarely see teams led by Gaia. It's usually a human with enhanced strength or a highly skilled fighter. So Shang-Chi really fills that spot for an expert fighter, a martial artist with exceptional hand-to-hand combat that we saw in Black Widow, but with the power of the 10 rings. So he's basically like Black Widow meets Miss Marvel, or like Thor and Mjolnir, or Strange with his cloak. Yeah, you just get the gist. He also fills that spot of magic and sorcery that the Avengers needed with Strange, but got with Wanda. Seeing as Wong has bigger responsibilities on his plate as the Sorcerer Supreme, and America Chavez is just so young and might be reached out to by Miss Marvel, I think Shang-Chi makes the most sense to be on Sam Wilson's Avengers team. Loki is the last person in the chairs that would be an insane member of this new Avengers team that Sam Wilson's making, especially seeing as Thor isn't completely gone, he just has a child with him. Though I don't think he'll be as prominent as Thor was for the Avengers, let alone even join this team, seeing as he has a new bigger role in the MCU as the Keeper of Time. I will say, Marvel can do whatever they want and always does bring Loki back from the dead. Loki has died a lot of times in the MCU, and now as a turned hero, sacrificing his freedom to hold all time together, I just think his story has been closed nicely. But seeing as he's probably like the top 3 of favorite MCU characters, I could see them bringing him back. They've justified bringing Robert Downey Jr. back. They're probably going to justify bringing Chris Evans back, and they definitely are justifying bringing back the Fox X-Men characters. So we could get a version of Loki that isn't the Keeper of Time. Again, I don't really see the appeal in reversing his conclusion. However, I'm sure they found a way to use him again. I just don't think it's in the future as an Avenger. So those are the characters that appeared on the chairs, and of those, I think we can expect Ant-Man, Shang-Chi, and Shuri to be on Sam Wilson's team with Joaquin Torres as Falcon. It's also important to know, and I assume, these are not the only characters appearing in Doomsday. I'm sure they're gonna have another version of Chairs Round 2, or they're saving those surprise cameos. Wanda! I know Wanda's in that goddamn movie. You can't hide from me. I know she's in that goddamn movie. And that's where I think we'll see someone like She-Hulk. Again, I don't like comparing these powers to the original Avengers of what we need and what we don't need, but we are simply missing a Hulk who is probably just taking care of his son. So this is where She-Hulk comes in. Though we didn't see Tatiana Maslany's name on the chairs yet, I think we will. We just got to see her in the second round. It's gonna be either her or Brie Larson. You gotta bring one of the two back. It feels weird not to. You might have also noticed I didn't put Rhodey on this list, and I might be kicking my butt in that regard, but the character is simply just never brought back. And even in Secret Invasion, he was a Skrull. It wasn't even our Rhodey. Then they planned to do Armor Wars, but it was slowed down and eventually what I would declare halted. We're missing a version of Iron Man or just like a machine kind of person. I know that like Ant-Man could be that machine person, but you know I'm talking about Rhodey. But I think that's also where Falcon comes in. And while Joaquin Torres is fresh and new, we've got a lot of Rhodey. I think Rhodey and Tony's relationship doesn't mirror that of Steve and Sam, so it's less likely to see him listen to Sam in the first place. If Sam Wilson's team works in tandem or even under the US government, and Rhodey, a long-standing political figure in the MCU, high enough official to work closely with the President of the United States in Secret Invasion before being outed as a Skrull, I just don't think he's going to be taking orders from Sam because he'll be giving the orders. And I think he's basically really gone in the MCU because he's either on watch now for being a Skrull or dealing with the Skrull fallout. I'm not saying he's against joining, I'm just saying I think it's beneath him. I wouldn't get my hopes up to see Rhodey on the Avengers team right now, but again, I could be kicking my butt. I'm sure they could call up Don Cheadle anytime and he'll do it. So for those confirmed in Doomsday, I think the Avengers that the new Avengers are fighting will be Sam Wilson, Joaquin Torres as Falcon, Shuri, Ant-Man, and Shang-Chi, but inevitably will include She-Hulk. Then they'll have their super soldier, their flyer, their Black Panther, a machine guy, samurai and mystic and martial artist along with a Hulk. And yes, I guess they are missing a god, how Thor was to the Avengers and Sentry sorta is to the Thunderbolts. Still, I don't see any reason for Thor not to be involved with them during Doomsday. However, for the future of the Avengers, I just don't see Thor, Bruce Banner, Namor, M'Baku, or Loki really joining. There's also a chance Doomsday introduces a new god that joins the Avengers. Also remember, we still don't have an official home for Hercules or Gaia yet. Speaking of Gaia, in my opinion, I did not like Secret Invasion. But Marvel doesn't just make things to make things. They want the project to further the MCU and for those characters or events to return in some way, shape, or form, which I don't have complete faith in Gaia returning with the reviews and public outcries. However, she is a pretty strong character to just forget about, and it's also Emilia Clarke. I'm sure they expect her to return even if she's not signed on for multiple projects. She could be that god spot for the new Avengers that Sam Wilson's building, and since she has ties to Sonya Falsworth, she's no longer only seen as a Skrull, but maybe a weapon. It doesn't surprise me if the US government knows of her and internally Sam has reached out with an invitation. However, again, I think Marvel will continue to have Gaia just serve as a Skrull leader and work to fix the attack on Skrulls that Ritson executed on Earth, which we'll never see again. She'll disappear just like Harry Styles for maybe like 10 years. Since I've noted that Marvel likes to run it back with their heroes or events throughout their future projects, and it looks like Sam Wilson's Avengers teams will be more in action after Doomsday and Secret Wars, because it really just depends on who goes in unless it's everyone. There's still a future where we're getting Vision Quest, Spider-Man Brand New Day, Wonder Man, Ironheart, and we could say Blade if we really want to. I'm gonna say Blade, but I don't think we're gonna get Blade. Rumors have speculated that Riri Williams be on the new version of the Young Avengers, Marvel's Champions, and Nexus Point News has reported that the writer for Shrinking and Fresh Off the Boat is reportedly writing the series, though none of those alleged to be on that team were featured in the Doomsday chairs. They could eventually be on chairs in round 2. If they just begun development though, it might just be released after Secret Wars, but the events of Secret Wars could still impact them and what they're doing in the show. And there's always people saying Spider-Man and mentioning Spider-Man, still seeing as Spider-Man has such a prominent part in Infinity War and Endgame, mainly in heartbreaking scenes. It feels like Spider-Man will now become a solo hero, occasionally helping and teaming up with heroes when in need. He's also at the age to be a mentor. We're always seeing him have a mentor in his movies and shows, and I think it's time for him to start teaching. I think with the Fantastic Four coming, this is a perfect opportunity to link him up with the Fantastic Four rather than just join another version of the Avengers. I will also add, the Avengers will be on beck and call constantly, and Spider-Man needs to stay in New York and fuck up Fisk with Daredevil. Speaking of Fisk and fucking up New York, you know what we're talking about New York City and Fisk on? We're talking about it on the Sneak Peek, our weekly podcast discussion series. And you can watch clips of that show over on our New Rockstars Highlights channel. And if you don't have time to watch full episodes of Sneak Peek, why not catch some of the best clips by subscribing to the New Rockstars Highlights? Wonder Man series is also coming sooner than we think, and Eric and I discussed on the Sneak Peek the idea of the West Coast Avengers getting their own come up, seeing as so many heroes now live in California. And I think realistically, this would be a brilliant idea, seeing as there's no Avengers campus anymore. And I assume with the calls having to come regional, if Falcon and Sam can't get to DC or New York or LA quick enough, they'd call the people that are on the West Coast. I don't know if Wonder Man is going to be officially on the Avengers team since we haven't even met him yet, but I could see the bridging in Doomsday if it were to happen. And as for Blade and White Vision, Blade's just not coming. If he does, they'll keep him bonded with Moon Knight and Dane Whitman. He is not coming and he's not joining Sam Wilson's team. Marvel exec Brad Winderbaum did talk about Vision Quest though. He said that with the Agatha series is a part 2 of a trilogy with WandaVision and a trilogy that will end with Vision Quest, and that series will follow White Vision and Ultron. But I also just assume that it will be Billy's search for Tommy. So I don't think that Vision will be on the Avengers team. He'll be working like an independent contractor like I suggested Spidey will. If they go the route of Vision making his own family, which I really doubt they will do, but if they did, we might see Viv, his daughter, who will be completely linked to Marvel Champions like she was in the comics. There are so many characters, so many new team-ups that are coming to the MCU. We've got the new Avengers, the normal old Avengers, Fantastic Four, X-Men, maybe Marvel Champions. Honestly, too many teams. So many teams. I hope that Sam's team introduces just one new character, and I really want it to be a defender, but I just don't know where Marvel wants to take this. All I know is this team can't be completely insane. They have to have their disadvantages, because I feel like they have to be somewhat parallel to the Thunderbolts. But you let me know what you think of Sam's new team. Who do you think is on it? Do you think they're gonna fight the Thunderbolts? And if they do, what matchup matches Ghost with who? Who matches with Wyatt Russell? Who matches with the Red Guardian? You let me know in the comments below. And a special thank you to one of our YouTube members, Frederick Price, who supports us.
Interesting take.